الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه واستنى بسنته واقتدى بهداه إلى يوم الدين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما اللهم آمين. I want to express my apology. It seems after in Jum'ah I said after Maghrib, but on the flyer it says after Isha. And a lot of you showed up at Maghrib and have been waiting, so may Allah reward you for waiting. When you are in the masjid waiting for the next salah, in the hadith that the angels write for you as if you are in salah, even though you're just sitting down, you're not doing anything. But intidaru salati ila salah, inshallah. So may Allah reward you for waiting in the masjid. So as we said in the khutbah, the topic of our topic tonight is rising with our children, the concept of rising versus raising. And inshallah we will cover whatever we can cover before Adhan and Salat al-Isha. Then after the Adhan is, what time is the Adhan?
7:30.
7:30, and then the Iqama is?
8. 7:36. 7:30 Isha and Iqama at 8.
At 8. So maybe inshallah we will continue after Adhan, and before Salah by 5 minutes we give people a chance to pray Sunnah, then pray Isha, and then continue, because I think many people will come thinking also it's after Isha. So we will cover a portion of our talk before and the other after. Inshallah Rabbil Alameen. So now when we talk about rising with our children and upbringing children, we really have to fix the mindset. The Quran has frameworks of how you should think about this. What are you doing? What is Allah expecting from you to do, so that you have the right mindset when you do what you're doing. So, and it makes a huge difference. What are you thinking? The framework and your mind, and it makes a huge difference when it is Quranic versus, let's say, cultural, whether our culture or this culture that we live in or whatever it is. The way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about upbringing children is first by giving us the example of Adam alayhi salam, and then Allah is telling you, if I give you a boy, I want you to do with this boy what I did with Adam alayhi salam. If I give you a boy, I give you Adam. If I give you a girl, I give you his wife, whatever, Eve or Hawa. So what did Allah say about Adam? Because you are Adam, I am Adam, and our sisters are Hawa. We need to know, when we want to grow our children and upbring our children, what is the goal from our upbringing? What is the goal? And the goal is to upbring and grow a Khalifa. This is very important, that is clear in your mind and in my mind. Allah said to the Malaika, Inni ja'ilun fil ardi Khalifa. This Khalifa, steward, Khalifa is someone that comes after someone to do something. So Abu Bakr was Khalifa to Rasulullah. He came after Rasulullah to lead and take care of the Muslim Ummah. That's the meaning of the word Khalifa. To come after someone, to take care of something. So we came after who? Allahu A'lam. There was another creation before us, or was it that jinn that existed on earth before us? But we came after them to take care of humanity and Allah's creation, the way Allah tells us to take care of it. What does Allah tell us in the Quran? What are the four, what is the purpose and what is the job? Most of us Muslims cannot tell the difference in the Quran that is mentioned between the purpose and the job. When you get hired, anyone in this world that hires anyone in this world, The reason why people or companies or one individual hires another individual is the big picture, the big purpose is I'm gonna make more money. I want to make more money, so I need to hire people to make me more money. Nobody goes and hires somebody just because. Just because I wanna be nice, I'm gonna hire you. Nobody does that. Everybody hires someone, whether it's a company or one businessman will hire another person to help him because the business is growing and he cannot handle it anymore. So to make more money, he has to pay some money in the form of salary of hire. Now, if you find a job and they tell you you're hired, you agree on the salary, everything is salary clear, days off clear, working hours is clear. What would be your first job after what would be your first question after they hire you? What are you going to ask them?
When do I start?
When do I start? Okay, you start tomorrow. What's the question? What are you going to ask? Training. Quiz. Training. The pay you agreed before, because you agreed on the training, on the paying and the training before. But what's the most important thing to you?
What I need to do.
Exactly. What am I going to do? What's the job? Right? So there's a big company. Are you in marketing? Or are you in HR, human resources? Or are you in engineering? Or are you in management? What are you? What's your job? So do you tell the difference between the purpose and the job? You are not confused that the company hired you so that the company makes more money. Everybody's at peace with that. But then you ask, what's my job? And these two questions are answered in the Quran. What's the purpose? وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. I've only created the jinn and the ins to worship me. Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas, Turjuman al-Quran, made tafsir to this word لِيَعْبُدُونَ. His student tell us that he interpreted that as لِيَعْرِفُونَ. So he mentioned that the first step of ibadah is to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. لذلك أول آية in the Quran, the first ayah, اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق. So this لِيَعْبُدُونَ has 4 steps in it. Step number 1, to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Step number 2, if you actually know Allah, you will fall in love with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A very high love. Step number 3, if you know Allah and you love Allah, you would want to have a relationship with Allah. How do I have a relationship with Allah? Allah explains to us through the ibadat. What are the major ibadat for? Salah, Siyam, Zakah, Hajj, plus Shahada, which is Asas al-Iman. These are the 4 ibadat. And the fiqh of ibadat revolves around these 4. Salah, Siyam, Zakah, Hajj. This is how to build the relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Are we done? No, still step number 4. Number 4 is to obey the laws of Allah. So you can pray 5 times a day, but you still have to abide by halal and haram. These are 2 different things. And abiding by halal and haram is a part of your ibadah. Abiding by the laws of inheritance is part of your ibadah. Abiding by any laws in Islam, the transactional law, buying and selling, is part of ibadah. So when we say step number 1, what's the purpose? Allah created us, number 1, the biggest honor to know Him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And He gave us channels to know Him by looking at His creation, by looking at His book, by seeing our daily life and the destiny that we went through every day. There is many ways to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To love Allah, that's an asl and shart. To worship Allah, يعني to do the ibadat, and to obey Allah, to obey the laws. But what's the job? People think if I do this, I'm done. You are not done. That means you're not reading the rest of the Quran. What is my job on planet Earth? There are also 4 in general. You can make them 5 if you want, you can make them 6, but I just keep them 4 because they're easy to remember. Number 1, إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَأْمُرُ بِالْعَدْلِ وَالْإِحْسَانِ وَإِيتَاءِ ذِي الْقُرْبَى. Adl, Ihsan, and Rahmah. What's number 4? Tabligh al-Haqq. To tell the truth to others. We are the messengers of the messenger. Your job on earth is to tell people about Allah. That's why you're a Muslim. That's why your heart is beating. That's your job. So number 4, establish justice. You can see there's no justice in the world. We have to establish justice. When we don't establish justice, we suffer and all people, all humanity suffer. To establish mercy, because justice is not enough, you still have to help people. You can apply justice and there will still be poor people. And there will still be people who cannot even work even if they wanted to. So number two, to establish mercy. And here mercy, I'm talking about organizations, policies, this and that. For example, part of the project of mercy is the non-for-profit organizations that help Muslims in America, help Muslims worldwide. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward Bayt al-Man for inviting me here to you, to speak to you, and it's what they do is to establish al-Rahmah on earth. And Rahmah is a big matlab in the Quran, big ask of us. So Allah keeps on reminding us, Allah is Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Allah described Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, bil mu'minina ra'uf rahim. Allah called the Prophet in the Quran Rahim. Allah Azza wa Jal, He said, وَنُنَزِّلُ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ مَا هُوَ شِفَاءٌ وَرَحْمَةٌ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. The Quran is Rahmah. Allah is Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. The Prophet is Rahim. The Quran is Rahmah. How much more focus do you want? Rahmah, without it, humanity will fail. Justice, without it, humanity will fail. And then number three, excellence. And here, ihsan, excellence in everything we do, but especially moral excellence. Why? Because moral excellence is one of the greatest way of da'wah. When you treat someone with ihsan, in a good way, when you treat someone in ihsan, then they want to know who you are. Why are you so different? Why are you so kind? Why are you so moral? How come you don't cheat? How come you don't cheat on your wife? Like how come you have this halal and haram figured out? Like you don't drink alcohol? Very easy. For people, it's very hard. Like how come you just don't use drugs? Just like that? Yeah, just like that. How in the world are you able to fast? Just like that? Yes, just like that. Since I'm 6 years old, people are amazed by that. The moral strength, right? All the prophets and messengers, they had a strong foundation. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was called as-sadiq al-amin, the truthful, the trustworthy, and based on that, Allah built the risala on the top of that. He became Rasul. So, establishing justice, establishing mercy, establishing excellence, moral excellence, and telling people about the truth and speaking the truth. Don't become a liar, and don't hide Islam from the others. Once you invite others to Islam, you leave them to themselves. If they choose Islam, alhamdulillah. If they don't choose it, that's their issue. Like, this is our job on earth. This is very quickly, I'm going over this. Each one of these is a 1 hour to 2 hours explanation lecture of every item that I mentioned. But we're going to move because that's not our topic today. So first mindset is, what are you raising? What are you growing? What's in your mind? Do you know what happened to us? We became British. Everything we do right now is British. What's that? I want to raise good students, good job, money maker, can spend on his wife and children, get married, keep on spending, keep on working, keep on spending. Please mind your own business. Don't get involved in politics. Don't get involved in social justice. Don't get involved in mercy. If you get involved, you're going to become in trouble. Just become a consumer. The British, the 1850, the combustible engine, then Henry Ford, the line of production, mass production, then the Industrial Revolution. Do you know who's suffering because of that? Every human is suffering because of that. This is the new form of slavery. 9 to 5, which actually it's not 9 to 5. It's more like 9 to 10. In corporate America, go and ask our brothers and sisters in Microsoft, it's 9 to 5. There's no 9 to 5. Go and ask our brothers, I asked our brothers and sisters at Apple, at Google, at this, there's no 9 to 5. They're even working on the weekend. They're working when they sleep. So you understand? So, what does the society want us to upbring? Look what happened. I'm so stressed. I'm your father. I'm so stressed. I need you to get good grades, and I need you to get a graduate, then I need to get a job, so that you can get married, so so that you can get slaughtered at the end. As I said in the khutbah, we're very good at raising, and I hate the word raising children because it sounds to me like raising chicken and livestock. When you raise chicken and livestock, you make them nice, you feed them nice and this, so that at the end they all go for slaughter. And that's what's happening worldwide. So we want to stop raising and we want to start rising. That's the name of our lecture. Do you know, from a world point of view, and by the way, just so that you know, I believe that our children should go to the best universities in America and should have the highest education. Alhamdulillah, I applied that with my children. So you're not talking to someone who's against education. I actually go around the country teaching people how your kids don't need to go to 4 years of high school. Your kids can finish high school in 2 years. Most of the states in the United States, after 2 years, you take something called high school exit exam. You don't know that it exists in the state of Washington, it exists. So what happens, the last 2 years of high school becomes, they're already in university, in the college. They do community college. By age 18, they're done. By age 20, they're done by their bachelor. That's what I want your kids to do. You know, because most of us don't know. Let me quickly tell you, when America designed universities, most of America was not educated. So what they did, when they did the university, they wanted people to go to university, but people didn't have high school, so that's okay. The first 2 years of university, we will repeat to you what you missed in the last 2 years of high school. Most Americans, most of us don't know that. Do you know that the same topic that you study in the last 2 years of high school is the same topic? Do you know something called general education, the first 2 years of university? Do you know why it's called general education? Because you're repeating high school. Because they're assuming you don't. Most of you here who are afraid to go back to university is because you don't have high school maybe in your country, or you have a high school but they're not recognizing it. Most of you don't know that in the United States, if you are 18 years plus 1 day, 18 years plus 1 day, the university has no right to ask you what? They have no right to ask you, do you have a high school or not? You don't need a high school to go to college in America. What will they do? They will put you in a placement test. The placement test will determine your level in English and in math. But you say, I will fail the English test and I will fail the math. That's okay. That's why every community college in America has 3 levels below college level. Yani if you fail, they will place you in 1 class lower than college level, 2 classes lower than college level, 3 classes lower than college level. But what if you fail the 3? They will hire for you a private tutor. Most of you don't know that. Do you know that? Go try it. Go tomorrow. Go tomorrow to the university. Any one of you can go tomorrow and start a PhD even. If you finish bachelor, then master's and this, and they will not ask you about high school. And if you are not qualifying for the level of college, they will raise you from 3 levels below college level to college level, then you start taking classes. That's the whole system of community college. It actually started in Berkeley, in the Bay Area, and then it went all over the country. So now, having said that, a side thing, because I want to remove the veil from your eyes, because you're stressing your kids and you're wasting their time in high school. And if you learn about the American experience from Americans, not from Muslims, they will tell you the most dangerous period of the American experience is the high school 4 years. That's the most dangerous. That's where most kids fall into drugs, depression, alcohol, and this. So why should you put your kid through that when they don't need to do that? When you're actually wasting your time. You're stressing them out, stressing yourself out. For no reason. Like, I'll give you an example. My daughter is 16 years old. She is 2nd year community college. She finished already the 1st year. When your girls are 16 years old, they still have to be 16, 17, and by 18 they graduate. So my daughter and my first 2 sons, alhamdulillah, both of them got accepted to UC Santa Cruz. So I'm not someone who's telling you don't focus on education. I actually believe that they should get education, but with a different framework, mindward. So here's a mistake that we make as parents. We go from a Muslim mindset to a British mindset that came and colonized us and colonized the whole world. And this great, this, so that at the end, what's the society around you want from you? They want from you a very good learner, so that you can become very good income earner, so that you can become very good spender, and preferably selfish spender, so that the economy rises. Do you know how they measure economy around us? By the spending rate. How much the people spend, it grows the economy. So what do they want from you? They want you to spend. In order to spend, you need to have money. In order to have money, please go get good education, get a job, become a slave, make higher salary so that you can go and spend the money. That's the setup for us. For us Muslims. That's not why Allah created us. We have a purpose and we have a job. And between the purpose and the job, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is expecting from us. So what are you trying to upbring? You're trying to upbring a steward on earth. What's a steward? It means someone who leads. What happens when we lead wrong? Not only human beings suffer, but right now the whales, the fish, the insects, the whole planet, they're estimating that it will heat by 3 degrees compared to pre-industrial revolution, which means the North Pole and South Pole will melt. Disasters will happen, basically. And that's all because of we want to spend. In order to spend, we have to manufacture. In order to manufacture, we have to use fossil fuel. Notice? So it's all circle that ends up destroying humanity and destroying the planet. My question to you, do you want to do that to your child? Your child has to come thinking, Allah created me an honorable being, Allah gave me a purpose, and Allah gave me a job. And I need to fulfill that. So I am a leader. So what are you trying to upbring? You either, what we do at our homes is one of two things. Either British or cultural, God knows what culture you come from. And what does the culture? What do you want from your child? You want from your child that you command and they obey. All the time. And God forbid, if your child challenges you with innocence at age 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, instead of training them in the right way, because we have the hadith. I'm not talking to you like I came from Sweden. I'm not from Sweden. I'm from Palestine. You understand? So I'm not coming with you with these modern, I don't know, like latest and greatest. I'm going to tell you what Anas ibn Malik said about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whom he raised him from age 10 to 20. You want to hear? It's very difficult to do that, but because Rasulullah was raising leaders, was raising khulafa, he said, never did Rasulullah yell at me, beat me, or look at me and make me feel that he's angry with me or he hates me. And he never told me, said to me, to something that I should have done. Why didn't you do what I told you to do? And he never told me for something that I shouldn't have done if I did it. Why did you do what I told you not to do? This is a hadith, sahih, preserved. So I'm not talking about Europeans, I'm not talking about modern, I'm talking about Sunnah Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is very difficult. So then how did Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam raise him? He focused on I am upbringing a leader. So I need this kid to understand, and I need to constantly be talking about the solution and be positive instead of creating hate between me and my own child. Our culture wants us to raise, and I will use the word raise here, Abdul and Abdul Ab. Our cultures want us to raise the slave of the mother and the slave of the father. Allah wants us to raise Abdullah and Amatullah. We want robotics. Allah wants human beings. We define a good kid, we define a good son, a good daughter that always listens to me and never argues. Wallahi, my dear brothers and sisters, I'm going to tell you, if you have a child like that, please go and sit down and start talking to them, because you are up for a big disappointment. If they are not having a conversation about you, about what's in their head, and they just do whatever you tell them all the time, and I'm talking about 10 and above, there is something hidden under the table that will blow up in your face once the child knows how to do that. You need to have a conversation. Because like I do counseling all the time, I'm always scared of the silent kid who's not arguing with his parent. The one that shows and says what's going on with their head, we know what's the problem, we can go straight and fix the problem. But the one who's not talking and saying yes to everything, that's when it's gonna blow up in your face all at once. So from the beginning, we define a good child, a good son and daughter, they listen to me. This is our definition. Allah wants us to have a definition. Hey, he's not your abd. I gave you a child, I didn't give you a slave. He's my abd. I gave this child to you to raise him to be my abd, not your abd. Did you raise him with a purpose? And we mentioned that the purpose in the Quran is different than the job. The purpose, to know Allah Azza wa Jal, to love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to worship Allah, which is a relationship through the rituals of worship, the 4 pillars, Salah, Siyam, Zakah and Hajj, and Umrah and all the extra. And number 4, to obey Allah, to obey the laws of Islam, halal, haram, right, wrong, good, bad, these laws, transactional laws, financial laws. This is the purpose. The job that Allah created us for is to establish justice on earth, to establish mercy on earth, to establish ihsan on earth, and to establish al-haqq and spread the word of the truth on the planet, around the planet. My dear brothers and sisters, if Allah wanted, your child that you're raising and holding in your hands could have been your father, and you would have been his son, if Allah wanted. There's no reason why you are the son and your father is the father, and why your son is your son and he's not your father. There is no reason except Allah wanted it that way. And that leads us to the third point. So the first point is to understand the mind frame of this world order, what I call the British mindset. The Western mindset is to raise a consumer. Then our culture's mindset that the best child is to raise a slave. So right now, we want to talk about how did Allah Azza wa Jal approach upbringing children. Here is something very interesting in the Quran, general observation. Most people don't notice that. There is nowhere in the Quran that Allah says to the father, this is how you should raise your son. There is only in the Quran what you should tell your son, the most important thing. So how does Allah approach this? If you just be patient with me 30 seconds. There is a general rule in the Quran and in Islam. Whatever you want your child to do, Allah also asks of you to do. Yani we don't have two Islams, one Islam for the father, one Islam for the child. It's the same Islam. So do you know how Allah speaks about parent-children relationship? The topic of raising children like this. This is what you should do with your son. This is how you should raise your son. This topic doesn't exist in the Quran. It exists in the form of stories. But you know how always Allah talks to us? Allah always talks to us how we should treat our parents. Never He tells us how we should raise our children. Why? Because if you apply with your parents what Allah is asking with you, your children will apply it to you, and you will tell them what to apply with you. So the approach is never top down. The approach is bottom up. Always in the Quran, there is no way. وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِأَوْلَادِهِ. We told that to the insan to take care of his children and to raise his children this way. Nowhere in the Quran. وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِوَالِدَيْهِ. This is what we told the insan to do towards his parents. I don't know if you understand how important is this approach. Instead of telling the parent what to tell the child, but to tell the child what to tell the parents. I'll tell you what difference does it make. If you can apply this, you will have the best upbringing of your children. You will enjoy and you will discover, according to the Quran, upbringing and growing children is not a stressful job. It's not supposed to be a stressful job. If you do what Allah is telling you to do, it's a joyful thing. We make it stressful. But you have to pay attention to what Allah is saying and apply it the way He's saying it. Then you will discover upbringing children is not a stressful job. If anything is stressful, I don't know, using the bathroom is stressful, right? Making a sandwich could be stressful in the morning. Anything is stressful. Driving is stressful. So when I say it's not a stressful, it's not supposed to give you a heart attack. The way we make it seem and the way but because we don't understand the parameters, then. But 4 things Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran that if you don't have them straight, it becomes a problem when you want to upbring your children. You cannot be serious about upbringing children when the purpose and the job is not clear. Your goals are not clear. You're growing this child for what? To be Abdullah and Amatullah, or to be Abdul and Amatul or Abdul Ab and Amatul Ab. Slaves to you or slaves to Allah. Number 2, you cannot be serious about raising a child when in the relationship, in the household, what's consuming the energy is the fights between the mother and the father, the husband and wife. That means you're not serious. That means you yourself didn't grow. You're still a child and you're trying to raise a child. Especially like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave leadership to men, like we really need to be the big person. And yes, there are wives that will give you hard time and make your life impossible. You need to find a way to disengage from constantly making your wife bothering you. Like you need to, if that's your problem, let's say, and it could be the other way. It could be the wife, and the problem is her husband. And to be honest with you, most of my problems is with the fathers. The mothers are religious, the fathers are not religious. That's 8 out of 10. I have 2 cases in which the father is religious, but the mother is not. Very few. It's usually the other way. But let's take it both ways. Let's say your wife is seriously giving you a hard time, seriously arguing with you. If you have children, you need to disengage, not give her that pleasure, and focus on the children. Because when someone is trying to bother you, if you respond to them, you have fulfilled their purpose, you've made them happy. So you need to disengage and say, like Rasulullah said, if you're fasting and someone comes and yells at you and calls you names and try to make you so angry, because he knows when you are fasting, it's easy to become angry. The response should be, Allahumma inni salim, Allahumma inni salim. Ya Allah, I'm fasting. How can I answer this person? Rasulullah taught us, if someone, another Muslim or non-Muslim, is trying to make you angry while you're fasting, you literally ignore them. You look up in the sky and say, Allahumma inni salim. You cannot raise a child in a home that there is a war between mom and dad. One way, fix the war, either by ignoring and becoming the big person, or by sitting down and says, okay, it seems we're not agreeing with each other as a couple, so how about we focus on raising the children? Do you want to raise the children together in one household, or do you want to live in 2 different and we still focus on the children? We can't continue to live like that. We keep on fighting. You cannot raise children in a household that the fight is always between mom and dad. You need to figure out a way to stop that fighting. Otherwise, you're not serious about upbringing normal children. Number 3, you cannot be serious about growing children when there is open use of internet in your home. You cannot. Open use of internet at home, meaning you opened your house doors and you told drunk people come in, and God knows that the drunk people come in and the haram come in. Your house is no more a house, it's a street. You're living in the nearest, God knows, mall. You're living in the mall. I'm telling you, stand your ground. A child should not have a phone with internet, right? Before they hit college. To me, your child should be full-time in university or college by age 16. Before 16, no phone with internet. He can cry, he can jump, he can do this. You need to just sit down and say, listen, a phone with open internet does not belong in your hand. End of the discussion. Don't get angry, don't get worked out, don't. Useless. There will be just no phone. End of the story. You want to give them a phone because of security, you give them a flip phone, where it takes them 5 minutes to send one text. Because you have to press the number 3 times to get the right letter. Then they will stop texting. When they hit 16, what happens? Their mind and their childhood develop without a phone. So number 3, you cannot be serious about raising children with open access to internet. End of the story, long explanation, but I don't need to spend time on it. Number 4, you cannot be serious about raising children when your children are growing up in a non-Islamic environment, period. And what I mean by that, we have been reached to a level where we don't need to send our kids to public school. I do believe our kids should go to the best universities in America. But if you make it to university, khalas, you made it. There is no misleading in university. Do you know why I send my kids early to university? It's a double win-win. When they go to university young, the other kids in university don't want to talk to young kids. And number 2, it's illegal for them to talk to them. They're called minors. So if your kid goes to community college at age 15 or 16, 2 things. He skipped the craziness of high school, and he will not go to the craziness of community college because they will not talk to him. Because if they actually talk to your son or daughter, it's a crime. Like they will be talking to a minor. So your kid will skip the whole craziness while he's getting the best education in America. Got it? So it's a myth. It's a myth that if you send your kids to the best, I don't know, public school or that, that they will get the best education. The best education right now, you have one of 2 choices. Either homeschooling or Islamic schools. Pick one of the 2. Both of them are good choices. And when it comes to homeschooling, just remember this, I can explain it to you later. Homeschooling does not mean schooling at home. That's a misconception. Homeschooling, the state will give you $2,500 to $3,500 budget. You sign up with a charter school, you can use the $2,500, take a math class. They can take a math class online, or you take them to the nearest location to you where they will go and take the best math class with the smallest number of students, and the state will pay the teacher. You don't pay the teacher. So you need to learn about how to utilize homeschooling. So your kids can get, actually, because right now most kids in public school are between 26 to 40 students per teacher. 26 to 40 students per teacher. How is the teacher going to teach? When you take them to charter school and you use the homeschooling charter school system, the teacher sometimes has PhD and master's degree, and there's only 6 kids in the class. Your kid gets the best education, and you're not paying out of your pocket. So go and learn that. That's a whole topic by itself. I cannot dive into it. 4 things. You cannot be serious at home is one standard, and then your kid goes to school, especially after applying the new school curriculum, especially in the state of California, it's not an option. Your kid is 5 years old, they're already talking to him about Adam and Steve instead of Adam and Eve. So I stood up in Khutbah al-Jum'ah in California, and I made a fatwa there, and war erupted against me, and then all the people who fought me came back and kissed my hand. I told them, you cannot send your kids to public school anymore in California. Don't come on the day of judgment and blame me. Our Sheikh never explained to us. I will not go to hell because of you. It's my job to advise you, and I'm telling you, it is haram to send your kid. If you want your kid to get the best grades and be atheist, and God knows what, and God knows be what, then that's your job. I don't understand, what am I gonna do with my kid getting me A's when my kid doesn't want to have anything to do with me, with my deen, or with my culture? Okay, you got an A, how does that help me? How is that gonna make me happy when you don't wanna talk to me, you don't like me, you think I'm backwarded, you don't like my culture, you don't like my religion, but you're bringing me A's. Okay, like if the neighbor's kid brings A's, does that make me happy? I don't care. If my neighbor, who's John and Jennifer, their kid gets A in all of his classes, that's not my kid. Good for Jennifer, good for John, but that's not good for me. If my kid want to have nothing to do with me, or with my culture, or with my religion, what are you excited about? He got an A and he lost Allah? I mean, we teach our kids when they're saying A is for Allah. Like, what's going on here? So, these 4 things. Raising a child comes to the masjid, goes to the school, comes home, everybody should be saying the same thing. Allah did not make the children mukallaf. Do you know what happens when you send your kid before age 10 or 11 and 12, before he hits puberty? Do you know when you send him to public school, what are you doing? You're going against the fitrah of Allah. You're making the child mukallaf before he's mukallaf. Why? Because he's going to go to school and he's going to have to choose right now. Do I choose to live like this, or do I choose to live like this? What do you call this? This is adulthood. A child is not supposed to be put in front of do I celebrate this or I don't celebrate this? If he has to make that choice, he's mukallaf. But Allah said he's not mukallaf. Allah said this kid, if he doesn't pray, there's no ithm on him. So what's going on here? I cannot make I ruin my child. Now, and a child is innocent, so naturally how Allah created us. Your child will do at school what makes everyone happy at school. Because he's a child, and I will end with this, and your child will do at home what makes parents happy at home. Congratulations, you've raised the biggest munafiq under your own eyes. He does at school what makes school happy. He does at home what makes happy. And once he becomes 18 and he's not afraid of you, it's all gonna blow up in your face. Don't do that. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين. There is adhan, there is salah, and after that we will continue.